I want to shed tears of blood because my heart remembers every cruel silence you left behind. Your absence bleeds through me like a slow poison that no cure can touch. I carry wounds too deep for tears. Only blood can speak their sacred truth. My soul bleeds quietly, a hymn for Latli, a hymn for love that shattered in the dark. I want my tears to burn like fire, so you feel the weight of what you lost. Every scar whispers your name, bleeding stories no one else dares to hear. You made my heart bleed in colors only the moon understands. I bleed for the love you never saw, raw and endless beneath my calm. Tears of blood fall silent, carrying every fragment of a love betrayed. I want to bleed in your dreams, so you can't escape the truth of us. Your shadow haunts my veins, leading darkness into every fragile hope I held. I carry bleeding silence where your voice used to live. My tears bleed truths I buried deep, hoping you'd somehow find them. I want to shed blood, instead of words, because silence never captured this pain. You left me bleeding in the cold, a sacred wound no warmth can heal. I bleed for the ghosts of us, sacred echoes in a forgotten storm. The blood I shed is a language of love too fierce to survive. I want my tears to scream your name, raw and endless in the night. Every heartbeat bleeds. I carry bloodied memories like sacred relics of a love lost to time. I want to bleed truth through your skin, so you never forget what you broke. Your absence is a wound that bleeds beneath my calmest breaths. I bleed for the love that was always meant to hurt, beautifully and deeply. My tears bleed like sacred fire, burning every lie you whispered in the dark. I want to shed tears of blood that stain your soul without unspoken pain. You turned my heart into a battlefield where only blood could survive. I bleed in silence, holding every broken promise like a fragile wound. My soul bleeds the truths I never said, raw and unrelenting. I want my tears to bleed like thunder, loud enough to shatter your coldness. Every drop of blood is a prayer for the love we never saved. I carry bleeding scars that speak louder than your absence ever could. I want to bleed in colors you can't ignore, fierce and infinite. Your silence bleeds through me, a poison I swallow in secret. My tears bleed the sacred pain of a love that refused to surrender. I want to shed blood for every time you turned away from me. I bleed for the love that haunts my nights and shatters my days. Your ghost bleeds through my veins, a relentless ache I cannot escape. I carry bloodied memories of a love that burned too bright to last. I want my tears to bleed truths, raw and fierce like a storm. Every wound I carry bleeds stories you'll never hear, but I'll never forget. I bleed in silence, holding every heartbreak like a sacred scar. My soul bleeds confessions I hid. Behind every smile, I want to shed tears of blood that echo in the hollow places you left. Your absence is a wound, bleeding into every corner of my being. I bleed for the love that shattered but never truly died. My tears bleed truths I never dared to speak aloud. I want to bleed in colors that haunt your dreams forever. Every heartbeat bleeds a secret you never chose to uncover. I carry bleeding silence, heavy and sacred beneath my calm facade. I want my tears to bleed fire, burning every lie you ever told me. You left me bleeding quietly, a sacred wound no forgiveness could touch. I bleed for the ghosts of us, echoes of a love lost in time. My soul bleeds the fierce truth of a love too wild to tame. I want to shed tears of blood so fierce they break your coldness. Every drop of blood is a prayer whispered into the void of your absence. I carry wounds, bleeding stories only the stars can understand. I want to bleed for you, not for pity but so. You finally see. Your silence bleeds through my veins like a poison I can't escape. My tears bleed sacred pain, a hymn for love that slipped away. I want my tears to scream your name in a language only pain knows. Every scar bleeds a confession you never dared to hear. I carry bleeding memories like sacred relics of a love betrayed. I want to bleed truth through your skin, so you never forget us. Your absence is a wound bleeding into every breath I take. I bleed for the love that burned too bright and left me broken. My tears bleed fire, burning every shadow you cast upon my heart. I want to shed tears of blood to wake you from your silence. Every drop of blood is a testament to the love we lost. I carry bleeding silence in my chest, heavy and eternal. I want my tears to bleed truth, raw and unrelenting as the night. You left me bleeding in the cold, a sacred wound no warmth can heal. I bleed for the ghosts of us, sacred echoes in the storm. My soul bleeds the fierce truth of a love that refused to die. I want to shed tears of blood, so deep they drown every lie. My dear, I want to shed you tears of blood, because your silence feels like a war inside me. If love were violence, I'd deep bleed for you until the sky turned red with our pain. The wounds you hide are the rivers where my broken heart drowns quietly. I want to bleed for you, not just tears, but something your soul will never forget. You carry my scars like ghosts that scream louder than your words ever did. My hands shake because every unspoken goodbye tastes like rust and blood. You never saw the storm I became inside, dripping crimson for a love you never held. There's a dark mercy in bleeding silently, like I did when you became a stranger overnight. I want to shed you tears of blood, because pain without you is a wound with no end. Love is soft here, it's a brutal hymn of bruises and whispered regrets. I keep the blood inside, but it screams with every breath you stole from me. Your absence is a poison, and my tears are the venom I can't stop stilling. I bled secrets to you, but you answered with shadows instead of salvation. This isn't heartbreak. It's a worse one where my tears and blood blend into one. I want you to feel the weight, the crimson truth in every silent scream I held for you. Some loves bleed quietly, and some explode. Mine was the silence that shattered us both. I want to shed you tears of blood, because only pain. The spears reveals what's real beneath the lies. Your name tastes like iron, and every tear I shed is a sacrifice you never noticed. Beneath the calm, there's a bleeding soul begging you to remember what you broke. I carry your absence like a wound, bleeding quietly in the shadows of my own broken faith. You're the scar I never show, still bleeding beneath the surface where no one can reach. I want my tears to sting, to burn, like the blood I spilled, hoping you did notice. Silent bloodshed tastes sweeter than your empty promises ever did. I bled for you in places words couldn't touch, and still you looked away. Every drop of blood I shed is a prayer I whispered in vain. You left me drowning in a sea of crimson regret and silent screams. This bleeding heart carries your name carved in scars no light can heal. The blood of my soul is the truth I refuse to speak aloud. I want to shed tears that break bones, so you finally heal what I lost. You turned my love into a battlefield where only blood could survive. Every quiet tear is a drop of blood that tells a story you never heard. I'm bleeding memories, invisible wounds no healer ever dared to touch. Love burned me down, but the blood left behind is my sacred resistance. I want my pain to bleed through you, like a wound you can't escape. Your silence cuts deeper than any blade. I bleed beneath its cold weight. I carried your absence like a crucifix, bleeding with every unspoken lie. I bleed in the spaces between our words, where everything you never said lives. Tears of blood, because regular tears never matched the depth of this ache. You are the wound I never asked for, but still, I bleed for you anyway. I want to shed tears of blood so my heartbreak speaks in colors you'll never forget. Beneath the calm surface, I'm bleeding truths that haunt the spaces we lost. Your absence carved a hollow inside me, bleeding emptiness into every breath I take. I carry bleeding silence, a heavy ache no forgiveness could ever wash away. The blood of my soul drips in the quiet corners where you abandoned me. I want my tears to scream in red, louder than the lies you left behind. Every heartbeat bleeds your name, inked in pain on my shattered skin. You turned love into a wound, and I learned to bleed with a broken grace. I bleed in the darkness where your light never reached, but your absence did. The blood I shed is a testament, silent but screaming, with every broken dream. Tears of blood carry the weight of a love that never asked for mercy. I want to bleed for you. Slow, raw, the way only broken souls can. Your ghost haunts my blood, a curse I bleed into every lonely night. My wounds bleed stories no one dared to hear, whispered in crimson silence. I want to shed tears that burn so fiercely, you can pretend they're not real. I'm bleeding love you never touched, pure, raw, and achingly infinite. The blood I cry is the final confession of a love too fierce to survive. Beneath every smile, I bleed unseen, your absence a constant, crimson ache. I want my tears to bleed stories you can't erase, no matter how hard you try. My heart bleeds truth in silence, a sacred wound only time forgot to heal. You broke me, but I bleed still, fierce, unyielding, and utterly alive in pain. I want to shed tears of blood so deep they drown every lie you told. I want to shed tears of blood to paint the silence you left behind. Your absence bleeds into me, a river that no dam can hold back. I carry wounds that speak louder than your absence ever dared to shout. My soul bleeds in shadows where your light no longer reaches. I want my tears to bleed like storms breaking through your cold distance. Every scar on my heart bleeds secrets you never asked to hear. You are the shadow bleeding through the cracks of my fragile peace. I bleed for the love that died quietly, wrapped in silence and regret. Tears of blood fall where words failed, speaking truths you refuse to face. I want to bleed so fiercely. You can't forget the fire I carried for you. Your silence is a wound, bleeding quietly. Beneath my skin every day, I carry bleeding memories, fragile and sharp like broken glass beneath my ribs. My teeth bleed the pain of a love that fractured, but never vanished. I want to shed blood instead of tears to match the depth of this age. You left me bleeding in the dark, a sacred hurt no light can heal. I bleed for the ghosts of us, echoes lost in the silence of time. The blood I shed is the fierce truth of a love that never bowed. I want my tears to scream louder than your silence ever could. Every heartbeat bleeds a confession you never chose to hear or feel. I carry bleeding silence, heavy and sacred, beneath every fragile smile. I want to bleed truth through your skin so you never forget what was lost. Your absence is a wound bleeding into the deepest parts of my soul. I bleed for the love that burned too bright and left nothing but ash. My tears bleed fire, burning away every lie you whispered in darkness. I want to shed tears of blood to awaken the love you abandoned. Every drop of blood is a prayer for a love that slipped away too fast. I carry wounds bleeding stories only the night skies. I want to bleed for you, not for pity, but so you finally feel me. Your silence bleeds through me, a poison I swallow in quiet desperation. My teeth bleed sacred pain, a hymn for a love lost but never forgotten. I want my tears to scream your name in a language only heartache knows. Every scar bleeds confessions you never dared to listen to. I carry bleeding memories like sacred relics of a love betrayed and broken. I want to bleed truth through your soul, so you never forget us. Your absence is a wound bleeding into every breath I take in loneliness. I bleed for the love that burned too fiercely and left me shattered. My tears bleed fire, consuming every shadow you cast on my heart. I want to shed tears of blood to break the silence between us. Every drop of blood is proof of a love that refused to surrender. I carry bleeding silence in my chest, heavy and eternal like a curse. I want my tears to bleed truth, raw and unchiding as the darkest night. You left me bleeding quietly, a sacred wound, no healing touch could reach. I bleed for the ghosts of us, echoes lost in the void of time. My soul bleeds fierce truths of a love too wild to be tamed. I want to shed tears of blood so deep they drown all your lies. Every heartbeat bleeds prayers for a love, slipping further from my grasp. I carry wounds, bleeding stories no one else dared to hear or feel. I want to bleed in colors that haunt your dreams and refuse to fade. Your silence bleeds through me, a poison I swallow with trembling hands. My tears bleed sacred pain, a lament for love, lost in forgotten moments. I want my tears to scream your name, raw and endless in the night. Every scar bleeds a confession you refuse to face or understand. I carry bleeding memories, like relics of a love broken and betrayed. I want to bleed truth through your heart, so you never forget what was ours. Your absence is a wound bleeding into every silent corner of my soul. I bleed for the love that burned too bright and left me hollow inside. My tears bleed fire, burning every shadow you ever cast on my life. I want to shed tears of blood to wake you from your cold silence. Every drop of blood is a testament to love lost but never forgotten. I carry bleeding silence deep within, a heavy ache no words can heal. I want my tears to bleed truth, raw and fierce like the storm inside me. You left me bleeding in dark, a sacred pain no light could touch. I bleed for the ghosts of us, echoes lost in the endless night. My soul bleeds fierce truths of a love that refused to die quietly. I want to shed tears of blood so deep they shatter every illusion you made. Every heartbeat bleeds prayers for a love slipping further into shadows. I carry wounds, bleeding stories no one else dared to hear or feel. I want to bleed in colors that haunt your dreams and burn like fire. Your silence bleeds through me, a poison I swallow in desperate solitude. My tears bleed sacred pain, a lament for love lost in the void of time. I want my tears to scream your name, raw and endless beneath the stars.